I'm Christy.
And I'm Kathy.
And this is The Psychic
And the Skeptic. Welcome back to The Psychic and the Skeptic. And on this episode, we are going into part 2 of our case files on the Poncan Theater in Ponca City, Oklahoma.
Yeehaw!
That is way up there in Oklahoma near the Kansas border. Not sure if we mentioned that in our first episode, but
It's a cool place.
Yes.
A cool town.
lovely theater. If you haven't seen the pictures from our Facebook page after our first episode aired last week, I highly recommend you go take a look. I love that stained glass round window that they have in that upper storage area is really what that is, but right out in the front of the building. It's just gorgeous and really cool from the inside looking out, if you ever had a chance to have the inside view. But just to refresh your memory a little bit on the Poncan Theater, this is a theater that opened in 1927. There were 4 businessmen from the area that pulled their money together to get theater in to itty bitty little Ponca City. So they started out with vaudeville. They had famous musicians like the John Philip Sousa Band. When silent movies were no longer a thing, they had talkies in 1929. And then Will Rogers had performed there, as well as Ethel Barrymore. So it was a pretty big deal when it first started out.
Yeah, and back then, theaters were like, that was the main thing. A lot
For
of
entertainment,
people.
right?
Yeah, that was their entertainment hub. And so theaters were very common to be put in a lot of the older towns because that was people's entertainment.
Sure. And Ponca City, even now, today, is kind of isolated up there. There's not much it's quite a drive before you get to another big town. So I'm pretty impressed that they've got famous people and bands and musicians to come and perform there back then. And some of the other history with the location, as from a paranormal sense, we look at tragedies that might have happened. Were there any deaths on a location? And this is the place where the longtime manager, Francis Hall, his wife had passed away. She had collapsed at the theater in one of the offices and died on the way to the hospital. But her name, or Donald Hall, was one of the longtime managers. His wife, Frances Hall, had collapsed in a second-story office in 1967. And then there was a member of the theater and the director of the children's theater, Patty Evans. She didn't die in the theater, but she definitely had a long attachment. She grew up in Ponca City, and she just lived there her whole life and was a member of this theater. And she had died on October 29th in 2018 at the age of 88. So there's a little dedication in the theater for her. And all of these things are stuff that we take note of when we're going in to investigate a location. Anything where there might have been a death or any kind of strong attachment on a location.
Right.
So we had been invited by Afterlife Paranormal Investigations, APIs, our friends and sister paranormal group.
Jill.
Episode 1, Jill. Jill is also a listener of our podcast.
Jill listens all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to give her a shout out.
Jill. So yeah, they're a small team. So this is a big location, and they invited Christy and I to go along, and that was episode 1 last week. And we were so impressed with this theater that we wanted to take the rest of the OKPRI team out and investigate. So going on the investigation was me and you, Christy, Curtis, and Ashley. Actually, quite some time had gone by before we were able to get back in there. It was almost a year, 11 months.
Yeah.
Almost to the day before we returned. So here we are in summer of 2025 in June, last June, where our team, OKPRI, had arrived at the theater. And we had some interesting stuff happen on our second visit, right?
Oh, we did. Yes, ma'am. We'll talk about that. We actually got some more evidence recorded. We had a good time, and I'm going to be honest, the lobby of this place, I feel is one of the most active areas because I got a lot of EVPs recorded in that lobby area. So between the lobby and the auditorium, I feel like those are the 2 hot spots.
Yeah, and usually theaters, there's a thought among paranormal investigation teams that every theater is haunted, of course. The
No.
skeptic in me, I'm like, nah, not necessarily. I think there might be potential. There's lots of history in theaters. There's lots of emotion when it comes to movies, scary movies, sad movies. So emotions can imprint in the environment. We're just trying to see the connection with some of the para theory that's out there.
And there are some histories where tragedies have happened, like the
Sure.
Ralston one that we went and investigated.
Ford's Theater.
Yes. And even the Ritz Theater, because we
Yeah.
investigated that like a long time ago, but they,
Tragedies have happened. Yeah.
yeah.
And when there's supposed quote unquote haunted theater, many times it's the actors that say have had the experiences and not necessarily the patrons. The people who spend all their time there on rehearsals, dressing areas, backstage.
Mhm.
That's usually where we hear a lot of the activity happens in a theater, but not the pumpkin. It seems to be the lobby or the main theater itself.
Mhm. Let's go over some of this. You want to?
Sure.
So, set up. We got there about 9 p.m. We weren't able to get in as early as what we did when we went with API, just because the theater had started showing movies and from 7 to 9 p.m. So we got there at 9. We started setting up. And I will say it was probably, I don't know, not too long after being there that my recorder actually recorded a voice, and it sounds like a male voice. It sounds like he's saying, beep.
Are you okay? Did he say beep or are you just
No,
are you censoring?
I'm censoring. This is a naughty
Oh,
word. It's
okay.
a 4-letter word. It starts with a D and it ends in N.
Oh, I know it when you're talking about. See, I don't think that's what it's saying. I think it's calling for Tammy and it's saying Tam, and then the end of the word just trails off. So
I don't know. Maybe I can hear the T in there, but
right, I think it's wondering.
it's
No,
drawn out.
maybe they recognize us and they're wondering where's Tammy. So
Good.
Tammy, if
She
you're
wasn't
listening,
with
they're
us.
looking for you.
Right. She wasn't with us with this,
No,
but
not this
you
time.
can hear it.
We're
That part's drawn out.
so this we'd already brought in all our equipment and we're getting set up, getting started. And so you had just
No, my audio was going the whole
yeah,
entire time. So
but it had
from
only been about 20 minutes into us arriving with all our stuff.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. When this first EVP was recorded, yes. So
Well-
let's play that. Yeah. See what everybody thinks.
Yeah, very whispery. But it sounds like a tam. It's hard to say, but I do want to also point out the beeps in there are the noises that our DVR system makes when it's connected but not connected to power. We have power outage to one of our cameras. So we're setting up our cameras at this point
Correct.
on the base. So that's what it's not the hospital beeps. if that's your thing.
I'm coming home, Jesus. I'm coming home.
It's not a heart monitor in the hospital. But that's what the beeping was. So it's very whispery. We can play it again and see what you think.
We've been there almost an hour and we've got our setup done. And now it's lights out time, which brings me to this next EVP. And I thought it was pretty cool because it's a female's voice. And Curtis comes in and he says, hey, where are the lights so we can get them turned off? And then you hear this female voice comes in and it sounds to me, there's 4 syllables, but I can't make out the first one. But then I hear what sounds like, no, lights out. And it's all kind of whispery, lights out. And this came from my audio recorder. It was right there in the lobby sitting on where you go up to order concessions.
Refreshments,
Yeah.
popcorn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's play that. See what you
Okay.
hear, Kathy.
Okay, lights. Do we know where all the light switches are?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. So I hear 3 syllables and the last 2 are hidden in some of the conversation. So you hear Curtis in the beginning, then there's some silence and you hear no or something that has an O sound. And then lights. I hear different things when I hear it. So if I hear it coming from headphones, I hear one thing, or just coming from your computer speakers, I hear a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But whispering, again, is not something our team does. We're, especially during the setup time when we're
Correct.
shouting to each other, hey, get the lights, or it's not common for us to be whispering. And then this voice clearly sounds like a whisper.
Yeah, and I swear I hear a syllable right in between there too, like
Yeah.
right before the. So I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me. And I will tell you, this did come again from my audio recorder, but when I try to determine what an EVP is saying, I make sure that I have my headphones on. I don't have a lot of environmental noise around me, and I
Mhm.
just repeat it
Right.
over and over. And then
Yeah.
sometimes I have to give my ears a break and then go back and re-listen to it again.
See if you hear something different.
Yeah,
But once your mind is set on what you think it sounds like, it's so hard to undo that.
it
There's
is.
some psychology with this too, and how your ears interpret things. And sometimes with some of these Class C whispery type EVPs, I don't think we'll ever truly know what it's saying, which is
Maybe
so
not.
unfortunate. If it's truly some kind of spirit communicating to us, it's more common to have these whispery, questionable EVPs, and we don't really know what they're saying. We can guess.
Mm-hmm.
We can go based on what's going on at the time in the environment. Maybe that's why our brain hears something like the word lights, because we're talking about lights.
Could be. But we
So-
also know that sometimes spirits can jump in and talk about what you're talking about.
Sure.
So that's a
Yeah,
very
that's what I
real
mean.
possibility.
In the
too.
context of what's going on, it makes sense.
Yes.
But at the same time, the skeptic could say, was somebody else whispering in, oh, the lights are over here, and it just sounded whispery because they were off in the distance. So those are things we have to rule out when we go back and we analyze our recordings and what we picked up from that day. But
Absolutely.
definitely there's something there, something whispery.
Yeah, and if you recall, we got male and female both from our first investigation through our audio and again through this second one. So
Yeah.
we do know that there's a male and a female both present in spirit. We went lights out because our setup was done, and now we're starting our investigative sweeps. And if you haven't got any idea of what that is, we do have an episode on the investigation. You can go back and listen to that if you want, but
Right.
we go through, we're going to establish baselines, EMF, take photo sweeps, figure out the environment. So we're down in the dressing room at this point. Off the stage to the right, there's a set of stairs that you can go down, and it like curves. So it's like almost two sets of stairs, but it's all combined. But you go down to this lower part, and there's several dressing rooms. There's also like a main sitting type area. You can also access the old orchestra pit from there. But we do our sweep. We're getting ready to leave the dressing room when my audio recorder captured this woman's voice. I swear she's a stalker or something because she's following us around this place, right? But this audio to me sounds like it's saying, not yet, go. And it's whispery, of course. All these are whispery, so they're not the clearest, but
But clearly there's somebody whispering,
yes.
and it does sound like not yet. That's clear to me.
Yeah, and then there's a pause,
Right.
and then,
Go or no, not yet, no. So let's play that.
yeah, maybe she was wanting to kick us out of there or something,
Or
you think?
don't go yet. Not yet. Yeah, so here we go.
I can't move too fast up these stairs, man.
Stop on the stage a little bit. So I hear not yet. No, don't go up the stairs. So clearly you're talking about leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so if this is an EVP, it sounds not yet to me, but I can isolate that section to just hearing the whisper part and play that again.
Okay.
Okay, so I still hear not yet. No, like she wants us to stay there with her. However, we were on our way up back into the auditorium where we were going to grab some equipment and do what we call a sit down session. So we're all going to be spread out so we can listen into what's going on in the environment, get comfortable in that setting, let our ears settle, maybe try some equipment, ask some questions, see if there's any kind of response from spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So literally a minute from that not yet no or not yet go EVP, we capture it's about 3 seconds into this clip. And it's very whispery again. So I'm going to tell you what we think we hear. And it sounds like a female saying, "Sit down."
She's being bossy, isn't
So
she?
you'll hear we're like chit-chatty and we're like, "I'm going to grab this," and blah, blah, blah. You can hear all of us in the background and you just hear. So you got to kind of listen over some of that. So count about 3 seconds in and you'll hear, and we'll repeat it and isolate it so you can hear the clip. But take a listen for yourself.
Oh, good. I'll use one. I'm gonna go get the REM pod real quick.
Okay, did you catch that? It's
Barely.
in between some speaking. I've
Mhm.
isolated that spot and copied it for you so we can play it again. So take a listen. Okay, we did. We sat down. And
More
we
than
also,
once.
yeah, several times. But moving around and getting equipment set up, we had some motion sensing night lights that were
Mhm.
set up on the stage. And when we set up anything motion activated, we usually have it pointed away from us so that it's not going to go off every moment that we move. And we were all sitting in seats in the auditorium and left the stage alone. And at one point, one of the motion lights turns on. This was around midnight. We then try to recreate it, and we couldn't figure out what could have moved or caused it to happen. But there wasn't a malfunction, and
Mhm.
in the device itself.
You'd be right up there on it if
Right.
it was.
And we tried to see, was anybody in the vicinity? So the more we moved around, the more we weren't able to get it to turn on
Mhm.
until we got up close to the device. So that was interesting.
I think it's cool too, is I really like that motion light that we have. I know it's your piece of equipment, but when we were at Kendall's and I did that sit down with Sam, the spirit there, and no, that was actually the yes no pod.
Yeah.
Is what it was. Okay, take that out. Never mind. I was thinking it was the light for some stupid reason. Never mind. Sorry.
One thing I like about those is it's not paranormal equipment. It's not meant for that. It's a night light. It's one that
Mhm.
you can put in your bathroom. So I like to use devices to investigate with that haven't been retrofitted, that aren't gimmicky or meant to be used for ghost hunting.
Exactly.
Sometimes those devices are great because if it follows a certain theory, but we've not been able to prove most of the theory that goes behind some of the paranormal equipment. So it's nice to try some normal household items
Yes.
from time to time. So we put those out there and we had some activity that didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was up on the stage, yet the light came on. So we also tried the audio baiting that we did from our time when it was just you and I with the API team, and how we played some music, some period music from so who was it? It was Judy Garland.
Yes.
We played Judy Garland.
Meet Me in St. Louis. That was the song.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we tried it again because it seemed like we might have had some activity in hindsight, knowing we had a little EVP.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried it again, and Ashley pulled that up on her device. She's our musician there.
Whenever, when she's with us,
She's
like,
the
nope,
one.
I got the audio.
Yep, she'll pull up the music for us, and so she's our DJ. But we did not capture any EVPs this time, which goes to show that perhaps the first time we did it, we had something legitimate,
right?
Potentially.
Because paranormal activity is hard to recreate or get to
you
happen.
Can't. You just repeat it. And if we were getting the same voice each time, the same sound, then we're wondering maybe it's the clip itself.
Right.
So it was different this time around.
Mm-hmm.
But during that session, Ashley and I did feel that the air around us had become more charged. Now, she wasn't sitting right next to me either. I don't think, was she?
No, we were
I'm
all
picturing her
spread out
yeah.
from each other.
Yeah,
we made sure we weren't real close.
Yeah, so she was probably a row or two behind me in a whole other section.
Mm-hmm.
And we had issues with the air feeling charged before with the API team, with Tammy and I up by the projection booth on the balcony. This time we're down on the main level in the theater. There was no thunderstorm at that time, yet the air is charged.
Right, which I find is interesting because it seems like sometimes when we do that audio baiting, you can notice a difference in the atmosphere as far as that static charge.
We had a case, and this was early on in my investigation.
Church of the Restless, right?
Yes, Church of the Restless, where it was real obvious that the room was electrically charged, yet there were no electrical boxes. What do you call them? There were no fuse boxes. There were no power lines connecting to the house to this room to create that kind of electrical charge. This wasn't quite to that level, but I will say that your body can have what some might call the heebie-jeebies when it's creepy and spooky and you play this old-timey music in an old theater. Maybe we were having some kind of sympathetic nervous system reaction.
That's the nurse.
That's possible. That's what I think it was. It was just, I don't know. Maybe it was a little creepy and we fed off of that kind of vibe that we were creating in the theater at the time. There's no way to know. We didn't really have any other activity. Now, if we had an EVP at the same time or we heard a thump and we felt this charge, then that would
correlating evidence.
Right.
Yeah.
So other than that, there weren't really a whole lot of personal
experiences.
Yes.
And I will say between the two investigations, the first time when we went with API and then the second time, I personally feel like the investigation the first time was more active than the second. Would you agree?
We had a thunderstorm. So
yes.
Does that help with the theory that thunderstorms create that energy and therefore we have more activity?
Possibly, but we also were working with a different team.
Right.
So we had three people that were not with us the second time. And then the second time we had three other people that were different than the first team. So, they were our team members out there, honestly, that when you have more than one psychic working in a place, it almost feels like it doubles that chance of the activity increasing. So
you've got more than one opportunity to get a message across or to communicate when you've increased the odds that somebody can hear what you're saying if you're there in spirit.
Right. And API had Tammy and then Brooke as well.
Right.
And then myself. So that puts a lot of that psychic energy, that psychic signal out there for spirits. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The spirits have to work harder to get the attention of a skeptic. And Ashley's kind of on my side when it comes to a lot of this paranormal stuff.
She is.
Oh, she's much more open than I am, I would think. But
Jill, too.
Yes.
Hey, Jill.
We create the balance for the team, right?
Right.
It's just, we have a lot of really good theory and we see repetition in it. And that's what's interesting is that we can see that the same type of activity happens in certain situations, whether we're in a theater, whether we're in a client's home. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for patterns. But what I wanted to say was we didn't have a whole lot of personal experiences in the second one, but we do have a lot of these audio clips, which to me as a skeptic is concerning, meaning that why is it that we get so many of these audio clips? Is it because it's a theater and the acoustics are making things sound echoey and we're not able to discern our own voices or our own breathing or movements that then sound like whispers?
I have a theory on that. You want to hear my theory?
What's that?
It's not a skeptical theory, but it is a psychic theory.
What's that?
So I do feel like maybe the reason why we got more on this time, the second time, than what we did the first time is because, again, you have me, the psychic, and then on API's team, you had Tammy, and then you have Brooke, who I think she feels like she's pretty sensitive too. But when you communicate with spirit, think of a ceiling fan. You got high, medium, and low, right? So whenever you're trying to communicate, spirits are on that high level, we are on that low level. And we have to raise those vibrational levels. They have to lower it. So we're meeting in the middle on that medium speed to be able to get messages through. So if we're getting, as psychics, if we're getting those messages, then why go through all the trouble to get things recorded on an audio recorder if you don't have to?
Yeah, and that's assuming that they actively imprint this in our recording devices.
Right.
I would think that it's just wherever their energy is coming from is there, and your recorder just happens to pick it up.
Yeah.
So I feel like some EVPs should be captured when you are receiving them psychically, right? Again, it's theory. We don't really know how or why or what this is, But
Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, also has to do with those frequency levels. What frequency level is that spirit operating on?
right.
This is why we have audio recorders that are able to pick up above and below the human range of hearing.
So you have a theory that they change their frequency because there aren't as many people there to hear them, so they want to be recorded?
I think so. I think there's something to that. Now, that may not be all of it.
I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch, but
Hey,
that's
I'm
giving
just
them too
saying,
much credit.
I'm
We
just
don't
saying
even
the
know how
skeptic.
they get on a frequency level. Like, how does their energy, and why would it be on this level or that level? There's so many questions.
Yeah, I think they're going to use whatever energy source that they have available to them. So, example, when we went to Kindle's in the inn, we were packing up our stuff. During the teardown, the front lobby radio came on. And we were like, what the heck? How did that radio get on? Okay. And it's one of those that you can only turn off and on or change the channel through a remote. The other owner had hidden the remote earlier that day. So I say all that to say, right there in the end, I believe that spirit was using frequency levels because I got the audio clip of that male saying, why won't you freaking go away, or something like that. And I think that he turned on that radio to be able to use that as an energy source for that
Wow.
frequency
Yeah,
wave.
that's quite a
I know, quite a stretch.
That's a stretch.
But you know what? I think there's something to it. And how do we know it's not?
Yeah, I know.
It's
That's the
all
dilemma.
theory. That's all we have.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I think that the simpler explanation is probably the correct one.
Which is what? The skeptic viewpoint?
That our ears are playing tricks on us and none of this is real.
No, I don't believe none of that for a minute.
No, I know.
That's
I've
bull
seen too much,
malarkey.
been too much. I know. I'm just saying. Let's dig back into some of the evidence.
We wanted to take a break to set up our bedding before we did get too tired and
Right.
brain dead, where we couldn't set it up.
Right.
So,
While our brains were still working.
right? Because by this time, it's after midnight. It's 1 o'clock, something like that.
It's getting late.
Yes. So we were down in the lobby. We were getting our bedding set up. And my audio recorder, again, I had 2 audio recorders going. One that stayed with me and the other one that stayed stationary in the lobby area. So it recorded, my audio recorded a male's voice. And he says, sorry. So I don't know if he felt like he was in the way or what, but we did get that recorded. Again, it's whispery, but let's go ahead and play that.
Yeah.
You have to move yourself over, son.
Hold up. Sorry.
Okay. 'Cause I don't have any trouble with your stuff.
So it's very whispery. It does sound male. I can't really tell if it's one of us, though. To me, sometimes when I hear it, it sounds like it could be somebody who accidentally whispered, which is why it's really important we tag ourselves when we whisper.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still some background voices in there. So in hindsight, it's hard to make out that that is EVP. It's helpful to me when we're doing a sit down to know, okay, we're following the rules, we're tuned in, and we're expecting that we might capture a voice. But then sometimes when we capture EVPs because we're setting up or tearing down or doing this or doing that or taking a break, I know we run audio all the time, but then we run the risk that we're capturing us in a moment where we're not thinking about investigating and we accidentally whisper, or we might be like, somebody's breathing and combined with somebody else's voice, it might sound like something.
Yeah,
I'm not
especially if you're
100% sure
doing,
in this one. I'm not sold on it, but
I get it, especially if you're doing something like what we were setting up the bedding.
Yeah.
Your mind can get off of investigating
right.
and
yeah.
go to the normalcy of
Right.
what you're doing. So I can see that.
So-
Definitely can see that.
But still, it's out there. It's questionable. It's not quite like the rest of the audio. When you sit there and you listen to hour after hour,
Mm-hmm.
your brain tunes in and can pick up when something doesn't sound like the rest of it, right?
Correct.
So likely this clip was one of those situations where whoever was listening in happened to catch something that sounded a little different.
Yeah.
So
It could very well be, yeah.
what else do we have?
We do have another EVP. So now I was trying to get an air mattress blown up. And I remember my air mattress, as a matter of fact, I wanted to make sure that I was sleeping near a plug. So that way I would be able to plug it in and then in the morning
Have your
deflate
phone
it easier.
charged up and
Yes. So I make a comment. You can hear me in this clip, but I'm saying something like, hey, I'm going to blow it up over here since there's a plug. Then you hear this voice that comes in and it sounds like he says to me, like he says, that's right. So like almost he was saying, yeah, you're
There's
right.
a
There
plug
is a
over there.
plug. Right.
The things
So
that they would decide to jump in on and have a comment.
happens all the time though. So let's go ahead and play that clip.
Well, blow it up over here since there's a plug.
Okay, so Curtis got a little kudos there. That's right. Sounds female. Yeah, super interesting. I'm going to isolate that and play that again because it is a little bit hard to catch the first time around. So
Yeah.
here we go. Okay, so we did get a couple other recordings during this time where we're setting up camp, so to speak, for the night.
Yeah.
It is. It's literally like camping.
Right. You bringing out cots, you bringing out, yeah.
Yeah. We got the coffee pot.
Oh, yes. I
So-
cannot go anywhere without the coffee. Give me the coffee.
Right. And so just more setting up, and we have this.
We got a funny one.
Yeah. You seem to think it's saying that
I
somebody's
think-
whining.
Yeah, like I know one of our members was talking about being really tired, but this female comes in and this came off my audio recorder. I think she says either stop, you whiner, or stop whining. And then maybe, hey, you got it.
Yeah. There's something that comes in. So it's going to be a little longer clip, but
Whiner is definitely
yeah,
though.
I hear whiner instead of whining, but it almost sounds a name like Scott Whiner. I'm going to have to look that up in the research, but
I like what?
I don't
Like
know
a-
why. To me, I'm hearing Scott Whiner, and I don't hear
Like a name?
stop. But it's probably stop Whiner. That doesn't make sense.
No.
Nothing usually
think
makes
it's
sense when we get these things.
Either stop you whiner or stop whining.
It could
But
be
either or, it's
But
hilarious.
were we really even whining all that much? I don't know. But you can still hear this voice. So what's important for our listeners is to listen to the voices around. There's some echoey because it is that lobby area.
Mm-hmm.
There's
we're
some
talking about
discussion in the
bedding.
background. And that's where I'm thinking, this does sound like it's separate from those voices you hear in the background.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and pull that one up for you.
You gotta put the leg up on that end, please.
Okay. Hearing that again, it does sound stop whining.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
And then, but what's that last one? Please stop whining. Please.
I'm not for sure. I think in the beginning, when I was listening to all these, I could have swore it said, hey, you got it. But I may be off.
Yeah.
Because when I
It
listen
sounds
to it again,
nothing like what I hear.
right.
You
Yeah,
got
I'm
it.
hearing something different this time around
Yeah.
in the end.
Yeah.
But it does sound to me, instead of stop whiner, it sounds like stop whining.
Yeah.
So whoever this female
Yeah.
is, hey, she's
Well,
got a sense of
let's play it
humor.
one more time. I've got it isolated and we can just hear that. Just the part where the EVP comes in.
Yeah. And hey, if any of you guys out there are listening, you can make these out. Let us know. That'd be great.
Back end, please.
All right. So we get our bedding set up. We decide that we are going to get us a little snack. It's 2:35 a.m. in the morning at this time for this investigation. Now, a little bit earlier than this, Ashley had to leave. She's got a little Chihuahua doggy that's so cute. His name is Finn, and she can't leave him too terribly long. So she left, and Curtis went ahead and was getting pretty pooped, I think, too. So he decided he was going to go sit out in the truck. And so it was just Kathy and I. So we're saying this so we can give an account to where all the members were at this time. Kathy and I decide we're going to go back in the auditorium. We're going to do us another sit down. And we're also going to do some audio baiting. So here we go. Judy Garland again with that song, Meet Me in St. Louis. And we had a series of 4 thumps. Now, these 4 thumps probably happened over probably 10 minutes time.
Right.
And you can't really hear them too well on
Right.
the
Our
audio.
recording with the soundtrack playing, the music playing.
Yes.
You can't hear the thumps recorded, but I
I
can
can hear
attest
'em.
we heard it and I feel like we felt them. If I'm remembering correctly, we could even feel these thumps. They were strong.
Yeah, and you and I at this time had the grid set up, remember? and we had it set up toward
Right.
the stage.
Right. We were looking for shadows, not thumps.
Correct. Correct. And I remember I saw after the third thump that was heard, and because you can hear us even on the audio clip
Reacting to it.
commenting about the thumps. So after the third one, I saw a green floating light that went from left to right across the stage. And then we hear, I don't know, a few seconds after that, we hear our fourth thump. So at that point, you and I were commenting about the thumps and about the shadow.
Earlier, we were seeing some dark shadows on the stage.
Mhm.
And so I had adjusted the laser grid because of the reason when you stare long enough, you might start to think you're seeing shadows. So
Yeah, that's right.
I changed the dots on it. And I don't recall seeing anything after adjusting the laser grid, but that's when you saw that green floating light come through.
But I also later, this was about 3:57 a.m. I saw a very large black shadow. It was about 3 to 4 feet long and 2 to 3 feet wide. And I saw it over by the stage stairs. Now, it didn't have any legs. It wasn't touching the bottom of the stage. It just went from right to left. Now, this was during the time that you and I were doing the Estes session. You were listening, and
Right.
I was asking questions. You
Right.
remember that?
Which means if I'm listening, I was blindfolded, so I wouldn't have been able to see that shadow.
Correct.
But I probably would have thought maybe you saw it psychically. You often will
Possibly.
see shadows that the rest of us don't see.
Yeah. So I could have psychically, or I could have seen it physically. I don't really
Right.
know because it
Without-
was so dark in there.
Right. And with myself being blindfolded, I wouldn't have been able to tell you if I could or couldn't see it. But the reason I blindfold myself is that way I can strengthen my
better.
listening senses, strengthen my hearing,
Right.
and not be influenced by
The
maybe
environment.
being able to read your lips as you're asking a question. It's dark anyway. We're usually separated from it. But an
Yeah,
Estes
and there's no
session,
way.
an
With as
Estes-
dark as that theater is, there's no way you could see my
no,
lips
I wouldn't have been
moving
able
or-
to see that
yeah.
shadow. But what an Estes session is, I'm listening to scanning of radio channels, quickly scanning, and I'm listening for any words that stretch across several radio channels. We'll do this in AM or FM, and at the same time, you're asking questions that I cannot hear. So there's noise canceling headphones that I'm wearing. So I can just listen into the radio scanning and tell you if I hear any words. And then we look back to see if there's any correlation between your question and any words that I might be getting without being able to hear you or see you or know anything that you're asking.
Right. Now, do you remember on that Estes session, were we able to correlate anything? I don't remember. I don't think there was much
No.
that correlated, or we didn't get
Sometimes
much.
there's words that could fit the context of what's happening, but when I'm listening in for more than just a quick single syllable, we're listening for words that stretch a couple of syllables or a sentence, because depending on if you're listening in FM, you might hear the same radio channel span across a couple of station numbers, but in AM, you may have that as well, but it scans several channels so that you might capture something that extends like in a full sentence. So for oh gosh, I wish I could think right
I
now
could
on
say
how many
cut
channels
that
it
out.
scans in a certain period of time. But depending on the speed that you have your scanner set to, you could potentially scan 10 different radio stations in the span of a short phrase or a sentence. And you wouldn't be hearing people on the radio talking over that many channels at one time.
Right. And it's also interesting because sometimes if it's a true spirit that is coming through using those frequency waves, you can actually see the same repeated personality. Like say, for instance, if it was a male coming through, the voice sounds the same. And I know that we switched off and I took my turn listening, and then you were asking the questions. But one thing about psychics, when you're doing the Estes session, and Kathy can attest for this, is I am listening for the same thing that she just described, like those words that stand out over several radio stations. But it's so funny because when I'm doing the Estes, sometimes I'm also getting things psychically.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we did the McIntyre and we're up in the attic and we did
I remember that session, but
That was a fun session. We were getting cussed out a little bit, but
Yeah.
we got that spirit to calm down a little bit. But that was a unique one. If you're interested, you can check that out on our website.
Yeah. If you're into the paranormal, and you might have seen others use this method in trying to get voice communication, I'm just calling out what I hear. And sometimes I think my skeptic brain assumes that it's a radio channel.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I don't have as much to say as maybe you do. And then when you're listening, it's like, is that from the radio, or are you starting to get, you're going off the rails, Christine? Get back to the task at
That's what's
hand
so
here.
fun, though. But no, I can tell you, this is radio. I'm getting this or whatever. And then I might come and say, okay, psychically, this is what's coming through.
So
And Kathy is like reeling me back in.
You're
Come on, Christy, get back
multitasking.
on the Estes itself. I'm trying. But that was interesting. We didn't get anything else recorded as far as evidence-wise during this time. But the shadow experience was neat.
Just because it's a common claim that they
Mhm.
have on the location, and it's also what we experienced the first time we were out there.
Right. Exactly.
Now, we did get some recorded evidence while we were sleeping.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't just someone snoring either. Let me just say that. So this happened about close to 5 a.m. and the recordings are about 4 minutes apart and both very loud. And again, we're all sleeping and we're all down in the lobby room. These came from my audio recorder because my recorder was sitting in the lobby. And again, I'm telling you, that lobby is active. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, we're inward into the building. So the lobby, if you've ever been to the Poncan, when you walk in, there's probably about 20 to 50 feet before you get to the concession area.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a large area in that entrance before we're deep into where the stairs are and where the doors to go to the theater are. That's where we were. So we were a pretty good distance away from the locked front doors and the sidewalk. So any knocking from that front door would have sounded pretty distant,
Right.
had there been any. The sounds that we recorded were some knocking while we were sleeping. But you'll hear for yourself because we'll play this for you. But it's right up near the recorder.
Oh, yeah, it's close.
And we had all our camping cots. So we were all to the left and to the right of the concession area. So a little bit deeper into the theater itself, not so much near the front door.
Well, yeah, we didn't want to sleep and then be seen in
there's
front
no
of the front
curtain
door.
there. They'd be able to see us in the morning.
Right.
Now, we were tucked around the corner, and yeah, so hopefully I described that well enough to you. This is the skeptic talking, and I'm pretty impressed with this. My first thought was somebody in the building with us and knocking to try to wake us up?
And the answer is no, folks.
Right. And the caretaker was not to arrive till about 10 or 11 in the morning. So
Yeah.
here we are, 5 a.m. There's no footsteps that lead into this knocking. There's no whispering or voices from outside on the sidewalk, people out and about.
And they're going to say, oh, wait, let me get my skeptic. How do
Yeah.
you know?
Because we listened to several hours and didn't hear anybody coming leading into this time.
I had to
So-
pop that in there
right.
just for those that were listening. And also let me say, you don't want to see me in the morning. Unless I've had my coffee, you don't want to see me.
And this is the grand finale, I would think, of this night's investigation, because leading into this, I don't know if you heard my skepticism in a lot of what we've captured.
Always.
Maybe you have. Maybe you've heard I'll give the benefit of the doubt on this one. But here we go. This is pretty loud, pretty obvious. It's not an EVP.
We didn't
It
describe
is-
what it was, though.
I have, yeah.
You already
I said it was
described
knocking. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I guess I didn't catch that.
She fell asleep for that one. We didn't have coffee before this recording. No,
it's a
there
single knock.
are three. First, we have a single knock, and then several minutes later,
4.
there's 3 knocks.
Right. 4 minutes apart are these 2 recordings. So play that. We'll play the single knock, and then we'll come back and play the 3 knocks.
Okay, so that was really loud. It almost echoed. It was so
Yeah.
loud. Yeah, so you can tell it's like this is not off in the distance like where the door is.
No.
The door is still a pretty good distance away from your recorder. So this sounds really close to it. So then 4 minutes later, you hear this. So that was pretty rapid. Does somebody knock that fast if they were to? That's almost not even a person.
Ghost on speed? I
I
don't
don't
know,
know. Let me
but
try.
well, I
You
guess you
really gotta.
could.
I guess you could do it.
Can I do it? Let's see. Yeah, guess you
Pretty
can.
loud, but
But again,
gosh.
that was really close to the recorder.
Exactly.
And as loud as it was, I'm sure, like Curtis is a light sleeper, you're a light sleeper. I'm sure something that loud would have, and especially just a few minutes apart, would have woke one of y'all up if that was
Yeah.
somebody beating at the door. But when we listened to our audio, we also would have heard voices. First time, hey, anybody in there? Or,
Yeah.
hey, where you guys at?
It doesn't fit. Yeah.
No,
That's all we had. No other sounds, no foot scrapings, no footsteps,
correct.
nothing.
So it's interesting. Were they trying to be our alarm clocks and wake us up, or what was the dealio? Makes you wonder.
Get back to work. What you doing?
Yeah, yeah. So to give a little bit of my psychic impressions while we were there, I did pick up on a couple of females. Now, one of them felt like maybe they had some history with the building, but they didn't feel like they stayed there all the time. And then the other one I picked up
You mean
during,
stayed there in spirit?
yes,
Like they came in and out?
they came back from the grave and they got up and they're hanging out at the pumpkin, all zombified. Yes, in spirit.
Because my head was thinking that they in life they weren't there all the time, that they were a visitor. You know what I mean?
No.
That's what I thought you were referring to.
I'm so sorry. Let me clarify.
Well, because I'm thinking of Patty. I'm like, Patty probably was there all the time. She was a member of the theater and did the children's
Mhm.
theater. So that's where that was. I can't even say it. My brain's
Well,
not working anymore.
it could have been, but I also thought maybe from the feelings that I got that maybe that folklore legend of the lady who died in the seat.
Right?
I don't know. There's just something about that. It seems like there's some sort of grain of truth to that, but I couldn't pinpoint that, to
So
be
you got
honest.
some kind of female spirit, and spiritually, they're not always there.
Correct.
They come
Yeah.
in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought maybe that was connected to this legend of this woman who died in the balcony.
Right. And it
But-
could have been Patty.
But you got nothing that connected this person to anybody specifically.
Right. It's
Uh-huh.
like I felt their energy, but I wasn't really able to fully connect with them. Like I wasn't on
Yeah.
their exact frequency wave. I knew they were there, but it's almost like they were there at a distance,
Just out of reach.
just out of reach. But I knew they were there.
Okay. But there's
So-
two. So were they both the same way? Two females?
No, now the second or the other female, I picked up on her whenever we did the audio baiting session and we were playing Judy Garland's Meet Me in St. Louis. She felt more like she was around the World War II era. And I remember her telling me,
Right.
huh?
Right. I'm
Yeah.
remembering
You
now.
remember that?
Mhm.
I remember her telling me about her husband, how they had met, and that he was shipped off to war. And I think if I remember correctly, he was killed in the war.
And she was still
And-
looking for him, right?
Yes. She wanted to reconnect with him because that was like her one true love, so to speak.
Right.
And there wasn't a whole lot of information. So I'm thinking he was probably killed or someone that was considered MIA.
Yeah. And I remember when you were picking up on her, you were reading her in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we even had this conversation in the theater, you and I, that she didn't feel like she was connected to the theater, that she was probably a transient that
Yes.
saw you with your light on and you're open for business.
Yep. And that's
Not
how
a
it
red light.
works.
It's just a white light.
Hey, psychics available. Come on in.
Yes. Open for business.
Yeah.
Get your free reading.
Right. Call me now for your free reading. That's always
They come to
good
you in spirit too. So, yes.
But that does happen.
Right.
You've even witnessed that yourself when I may be doing a reading or when we're at a location and you got spirits that'll pop in.
Right. That's
So-
what, and I've seen this pattern time and time again. So even when you're starting to pick up on these things and me knowing the history, I'm like, this really doesn't sound like something that, not to say maybe she wasn't from the area and maybe from time to time went to the Ponca. And I think there was
Mhm.
some connection geographically, but that she wasn't somebody who stays in this theater either.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. See, that's how I encountered Sam, remember, at Kindle's?
Mm-hmm.
That was,
Yeah.
we got backup evidence on that with the equipment. And
He wasn't connected to Kendall's either.
right, he told me
he came in.
basically he saw the light and came in. He didn't put it in those words, but yeah, so it happens.
But you picked up on a female when we were unloading. So
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So even when we were driving to this location, I had picked up on a female. I do remember that now. And so when I first entered the building, even bringing in equipment, I had a female that was like, hey, right when I was by the auditorium doors. And when I looked, I didn't see anybody, but I heard her. But yeah, so that female connection was definitely there. But I think that one was the lady that was connected to the Poncan.
right.
I really do,
Right.
in some way or the other.
So you encountered her in the beginning and then again later on in investigating. Now,
Correct.
are you talking about this is what you picked up on from both times that we visited?
Yes,
Okay.
a combination, yeah.
So you felt that same spirit that second time,
Yes.
which is crazy because that was almost a year later.
Mm-hmm.
She had something to do with the theater. Does that energy feel the same? Like, how do you know it's the same energy?
The easiest way I guess I could describe it is it feels like a familiar energy. If you were to meet someone, it's even if it's a year later, you still recognize them.
I know you from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's that same familiar energy.
Yeah.
Now the World War lady, no, second visit for her.
Yeah.
But the other energy, the female energy on both visits.
Yeah.
So I know she's in and out of the Poncan.
Yeah.
Now I also picked up on a man, and I did feel like he had maybe worked in the building at some point, or he was some sort of like caretaker, handyman, maintenance man. I don't know. But I did feel like he was very protective of the Poncan, and he still wanted to help. And I remember the session I described what he looked like and all that, but I do believe he was connected physically at some point to the Poncan.
Right. And this is where the history is helpful in knowing, and this is why I do preliminary research. So I have a little bit of background.
Mm-hmm.
When we're sitting there and you're conversing with these spirits,
Right.
I have a little bit of information that may make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I dig in a little bit more after an investigation once I get information from you on a reading to see if I can find anybody else in history that matches that kind of description. But the only thing I could really think of is there are several people who worked there, had remodeled and poured love into making this theater great. And the only person I could think of was that Donald Hall, that manager. He'd been the manager longer than anybody else there. So it might be him, but we don't really have that information for sure.
Right.
But that potential is there, especially with the theater. You know, that it's a connection to your community. It can be a meeting place. It's a place where people bring family. They celebrate things by going to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who owns a theater and puts all that work to make it what it is going to have a connection to it. And maybe that connection lasts into the spirit world.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's been times where I've actually given extra information on a location, and we find facts and stuff that can help verify some of that. So it's cool. I take it as a gift, whatever spirit can give me to help to understand why they're there, if there's something we can help them with, etc., then I just take that as an additional bonus and blessing.
Right. It helps current owners establish their own deeper attachment and love for the theater. Those of us who are living can have a new respect for it when we know that those who've long gone still feel a strong connection, and we need to take care of it for us and for them.
Yeah, especially our historical places like this one. You want this to last for a long time. It's on the National Register of Historical Places, so definitely.
They don't build them like they used to.
No, they don't build nothing like
we
they
need to
used to.
protect it.
Right? Nothing is built. They want things to break down, so you'll have to buy again.
That's one of my favorite parts about locations like these is the history and just how many people have come through there in good times and in bad, even with the fact that theater did go through segregation and people of African descent were supposed to be up in the balcony and those who were Caucasian were down below. And it's still, that's not a fun thing about history,
No.
but at least the community still came together to enjoy shows, and we've moved past that and gone beyond that. And the community of Ponca City still holds that theater dear to them and holds events there, and children still do theater there. So it's carried on and grown as the people have grown.
Absolutely. So we need to cherish and love all the places. When I look at Oklahoma and I see that a historical home or a building is going to be
Demolished.
thank you, then that makes me sad because I'm like, there goes another part of our history.
Right.
So I love it while you got it.
Good, bad, ugly, and the beautiful.
Oh, while I'm thinking of it, let me also mention something. So on our website, our OKPRI website, we have a page. If you look on the right-hand side, there'll be some like choices to click on. There's a link that says Psychic and Skeptic case files. And if you click on that, these are going to be all the cases that Kathy and I have covered in podcasts, and there'll be a link to them. Then on the right-hand side, there is the web page links that will take you to that investigation that's on our website, show you all the evidence, show you all the photos, etc. So if you're interested in checking that out, go for it.
So the links on the left go to the podcast episode. The links on the right go to the OKPRI website.
Correct.
With the case file, all the history, and any extra EVPs that we weren't covering on the show.
Exactly. Yes.
So go check that out. And while you're at it, if you've had any experiences of hauntings or strange things in a theater, write us in. Let us know. We may feature your story on a future podcast.
Yeah. Or is there a topic we haven't covered that you want to hear? We
Write
are
us in.
starting to get some good feedback, and we are thankful to everyone who is giving us that feedback. We appreciate it.
So you can find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts, and thank you for listening.
Because the paranormal is the normal.
Not yet understood.